Chapter 1. We're Doing It Wrong. Picture every bite you eat as a commuter trying to cross a crowded city. Stomach acid is the on-ramp, enzymes are the lane changes, bile the high-speed expressway, and the microbiome the maze of neighborhoods where nutrients refuel. When one piece slows, gridlock spreads everywhere. Decades of low-fat fads stole bile's purpose. Heartburn meds flattened stomach acid. Pesticides cratered the microbiome's roads. Our grandparents' mineral shortages and chemical exposures even rewired our epigenetics, tightening the bottlenecks before we were born. Now, each time we slam down isolated megadoses, vitamin D pills here, a fistful of zinc there, we're sending a convoy onto roads already at rush hour. Cell biologists call these choke points rate-limiting enzymes. Think of them as toll booths that only allow so many cars per minute, no matter how long the line. Pile nutrients behind one toll and you don't speed things up. You spark horn-blaring chaos. Excess iron fuels free radical fender benders. Unused B vitamins spin into nerve-jangling metabolites. Sulfur left idling becomes the rotten egg fumes that bloat us out of our genes. The solution isn't more cars or bigger pills, it's smarter urban planning. Enter the Whole30 reset. For 30 days, we clear the streets of the worst offenders: seed oil sludge, refined sugars that hijack traffic lights, synthetic additives that confuse toll collectors. Real food reroutes the flow. Protein reignites stomach acid. Colorful produce feeds friendly fauna, and natural fats give bile a reason to clock in. Whole30 isn't magic. It simply hushes the daily fire alarms long enough to hear what digestion has been trying to say. Sunlight, meanwhile, is the city's power grid. Morning rays flip the circadian breakers that tell the liver when to craft bile acids and the pancreas when to release enzymes. 10 minutes outside within an hour of waking synchronizes those systems better than any supplement aisle sunrise in a bottle. We still need vitamin D, but we were designed to harvest it the old-fashioned way, skin-turning photons into hormones while our eyes log the clock. During this reset, we keep nutrient strategy intentionally broad and light. Forget shotgun blasts of one mineral. Instead, season meals with mineral-rich sea salt, rotate herbs, flirt with tiny tastes of liver pate or seaweed, wide variety, low dose. That diversity feeds enzymatic niches across the metabolic network, convincing the toll booths to hire extra staff rather than forcing a single gate to handle holiday traffic. Progress isn't linear, so we learn to read the body's traffic reports. Greasy, floating stools announce that bile still needs decongesting. Squeeze lemon into water or crunch bitter greens before meals to nudge production. Heartburn mid-reset means stomach acid is finally revving. A sip of diluted apple cider vinegar can help it burn clean instead of splashing upstream. Keto flu headaches? Think electrolytes first. A pinch of sea salt in water and a dose of magnesium at night usually clears the logjam faster than any painkiller. Most important, we keep a journal. Not a calorie ledger, just a daily snapshot. How did the first bathroom visit look? When did energy dip or surge? Was the afternoon brain haze lighter? Over time, the notebook becomes a personalized map of how traffic should move in your city, not someone else's lab printout. By the final page, you'll see why digestion is the master key to energy, mood, immunity, even hormones, and why chasing siloed fixes keeps us circling the same block. First, though, we need a refresher on the 4 pillars that make the digestive symphony possible: acid, bicarbonate, bile, and enzymes. Turn the page, step into the conductor's pit, and let's rebuild the music. Chapter 2. Digestive Symphony 101. Every great orchestra needs 4 sections to stay in tune: strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion. Digestion has its own quartet: acid, bicarbonate, bile, and enzymes. And when one section drops a note, the entire performance goes flat. Most of us grew up listening to that off-key concert so long, we've forgotten what harmony feels like. This chapter hands each instrument the spotlight so we can hear, at last, how they're meant to play together. Stomach acid, the opening crescendo. Picture the curtain rising. Stomach acid, hydrochloric lightning hovering around pH 1.5, smashes into every bite, unraveling proteins and sterilizing would-be gatecrashers. It also flips a molecular switch that tells the pancreas, batter up, bicarbonate incoming. Yet half the population suppresses this acid on purpose, mistaking burn for surplus when it's usually mistimed deficiency. Low acid leaves proteins only half chewed, minerals unionized, and bile waiting at the station for a train that never arrives. Cue the bloat, the burps, and the late-night reflux we blame on too much spice. Bicarbonate, the fire extinguisher. As the acidic bolus drips into the small intestine, the pancreas douses it with an alkaline cloud, bicarbonate around pH 8. This flash neutralization protects delicate villi and sets the stage for enzymes that can't operate in battery acid. Without enough bicarbonate, chyme stays too hot, scalding the intestinal lining, provoking histamine flares, and wringing the gut like a dish rag. Sodium, potassium, chloride, and zinc are the raw materials. Chronic shortages turn the pancreas from an eager percussionist into a guy tapping a lone triangle. Bile, the dish soap brass section. Bile acids surge from the gallbladder like liquid trumpets, emulsifying fats into microscopic micelles. Tiny bubbles that lipase enzymes can actually grasp. But bile is more than soap. Its acids double as hormones that talk to gut bugs and tell the liver how to burn fat versus store it. Sludgy bile, thickened by low-fat diets, estrogen dominance, dehydration, or missing gallbladders, means grease streaks through the orchestra pit, staining instruments and muting every note downstream. Floating stools, right-side stitch, and fat-soluble vitamin deficiencies are the brass section begging for breath. Enzymes, the precision strings. Finally, pancreatic and brush border enzymes glide in like violins, snipping starches, fats, and proteins into absorbable solos. Enzymes work on razor-thin margins of temperature and pH, and they arrive only if the earlier cues are fired on time. Imagine violins playing while stagehands are still dragging scenery. Chaos. Zinc, magnesium, taurine, and B vitamins tune the strings. Glyphosate residues, alcohol binges, and chronic cortisol snap them. When enzymes falter, undigested fragments tumble into the colon, feeding gas-producing microbes and rehearsing for an encore nobody wants. The conductor, your enteric nervous system. Hovering above it all is the vagus nerve maestro, waving baton signals that depend on breath rate, meal pace, and even the hum of conversation. Eating in a car, scrolling crisis headlines, or wolfing protein bars between meetings turns the conductor's sheet music into confetti. No matter how perfect our ingredients, a stressed gut orchestra will stumble. Putting the quartet back together. Whole 30 is our month-long rehearsal hall. No gut-clogging grains to gum strings, no dairy casein to mute trumpets, and no processed snack additives to trip percussionists. Morning sunlight cues the circadian tuner so bile sacs squeeze on time, and acid pumps fire at the first sizzle of onions in the pan. A pinch of mineral salt sprinkles the electrolyte staff paper. A mindful exhale before the first bite lowers cortisol, so the maestro's baton is steady. Healing doesn't require megadoses, it requires rhythm. Acid fires, bicarbonate cools, bile polishes, enzymes perform, and the gut epithelium applauds with tight junctions and calm histamine levels. Miss one cue and the melody warps. Honor each cue and the entire symphony swells. Chapter 3, built on bile. If digestion were a blockbuster heist, bile would be the getaway driver. Unflashy, rarely on screen, yet everything falls apart without it. Hidden in the gallbladder's green garage, this yellow gold fluid waits for its cue. Fats entering the duodenum. One squirt and triglycerides shatter into tiny micelles the size of glitter. Just right for lipase to finish the job. But bile isn't just dish soap. Its acids are whispered network messengers that tell the thyroid to burn hotter, the colon to grow certain microbes, and the liver to empty out yesterday's hormone leftovers. Lose that conversation and the whole city smells like a backed-up sewer. How we sludged the system. For 40 years we were told fat makes us fat, so we skimped on yolks and butter. The gallbladder took the hint. No orders coming in, so production lines slowed. Bile concentrated, thickened, and finally refused to exit the garage without a court order. That stabbing right side stitch under the ribs. Add a few rounds of hormonal birth control, chronic dehydration, and mineral strip processed foods, and you've got sludge thick enough to spread on crackers. Some of us even had the entire gallbladder towed away, an amputation our doctors claimed was consequence-free until we tried a keto diet and met the porcelain consequences firsthand. Signs your dish soap is down the drain. Ever flush and see an oil slick? That's unemulsified fat. Clay-colored stools? No bile pigments made the trip. Greasy food triggers an urgent sprint. Bile arrived late and the colon staged a protest. Hormonal acne, itchy skin at night, fat-soluble vitamin deficiencies, stubborn LDL, and that I worked out yet still feel squishy vibe. Each is a postcard from a gallbladder that forgot where home is. The physics and chemistry of flow. Bile acids form when the liver stitches cholesterol to glycine or taurine, a process powered by copper, vitamin C, and molecular oxygen. They exit the liver like newborns, get stashed in the gallbladder nursery, then released at mealtime via the hormone cholecystokinin, CCK. Low stomach acid means weak CCK, so the nursery door never opens. Excess estrogen thickens bile by pulling out the water, while copper deficiency jams the stitching machines. Picture a spa mud mask poured into soda straws. Regreasing the gears. A Whole30 plate. Think salmon draped in ghee beside a mound of bitter arugula. Commands bile to show up. Natural fats provide purpose. Bitter greens trigger vagus nerve signals that squeeze the gallbladder like a stress ball. Throw in lemon water or a dash of apple cider vinegar before the first bite, and you prime CCK the way a drummer taps the hi-hat before the chorus. Taurine from dark meat turkey or a 500 milligram supplement helps thin the sludge. Glycine in bone broth doubles as collagen repair crew. Copper-rich foods, oysters, cacao nibs, spark the liver's bile acid quilting, while molybdenum ushers out spent sulfur so it doesn't gunk the works. Hydration matters too. Bile is 95% water. Try pushing dish soap through a dry sponge and watch nothing move. Aim for half your body weight in ounces with a mineral pinch so electrolytes escort water into cells instead of straight to the bladder. Sunlight, the unseen siphon. Morning UVB nudges the liver's circadian genes, upregulating CYP7A1, the enzyme that caps bile acid production. Translation, sunlight tells the factory to open early, making fresh batches so your noon meal isn't stuck with yesterday's leftovers. No pill can replicate the full-spectrum symphony of that signal, despite what the bright yellow bottles promise. Life without a gallbladder. If yours was carted off, don't despair. Just know the getaway driver now freelances. The liver drips bile continuously into the intestine, so you must eat small doses of fat throughout the day to match the trickle. Ox bile capsules can pinch hit for richer meals, but long-term success still hinges on copper, taurine, and bitters to keep new bile thin and plentiful. What progress feels like. Week 1, the bathroom stops smelling like a deep fryer. By week 2, stools darken to earthy walnut and wipe clean. Skin itch fades. Sleep deepens because bile acid recycling no longer spikes midnight histamine. Around week 3, you notice avocado leaves you energized instead of foggy, and stubborn scale weight finally nudges south, which is liver fat clearing out along with yesterday's estrogen. Bile doesn't just digest fat, it turns detox from myth into measurable reality. Heavy metals, mold toxins, excess hormones, all must hitch a ride on bile to exit in stool. Heal the flow, and you clear the exit ramp. Block the flow and toxins loop the block like taxis in a strike. With dish soap brass blaring again, we can circle back to the opening act. Stomach acid. Remember that stealthy assassin, Helicobacter pylori, that tampers with our acid pump? In the next chapter, we'll unmask the culprit, explore why half the globe hosts it, and map out gentle eviction notices that keep the gut peace. Chapter 4, H. pylori, the acid assassin. Long before Instagram gut gurus and antacid commercials, a corkscrew-shaped bacterium slipped past stomach acid's fiery moat and set up camp in nearly half the world's bellies. Helicobacter pylori isn't your average bad bug. It's a biochemical saboteur wielding a molecular wrench called urease. With one squirt of this enzyme, H. pylori converts urea into ammonia, raising the local pH just enough to dodge acid's kill zone. Think of it as a graffiti artist who brings his own acid-neutralizing paint so the security lasers can't see him. The silent sabotage. At first, the invasion feels like nothing. Maybe an extra burp after pizza or a metallic taste on waking. But as colonies tunnel into the mucus lining, they flip genetic switches that tell proton pumps to chill out. Less acid means proteins arrive half-digested, pathogens waltz in unchallenged, and minerals like iron and zinc stay locked in their food matrix. Over time, we blame fatigue on adrenal issues, blame hair loss on hormones, and blame bloat on beans, never suspecting a micro-sized saboteur. H. pylori can also crank out toxins, CAG-A and VAC-A, that poke holes in gastric cells, sparking chronic inflammation that your doctor might one day call gastritis, or, in worst cases, an ulcer. Some strains even nudge DNA toward cancerous mutations. The assassin doesn't just pickpocket our acid, he burns down the darn vault. Clues you've been compromised. You need antacids yet still feel empty hunger pangs minutes after eating. Protein leaves you tired instead of satisfied. Iron or B12 stays low despite supplements. Burps smell faintly of sulfur fireworks. You wake at 2 a.m. with upper abdominal gnawing, soothed only by a snack. None of these is proof, but together they whisper, check for H. pylori. A stool antigen test or urea breath test are the modern lie detectors. Blood antibody tests only tell you if you once met the assassin, not if he's still hiding. Eviction notices. Mainstream medicine hands out a triple antibiotic cocktail with a proton pump inhibitor. Scorched earth plus acid shutdown. It works about 70% of the time, but often leaves the microbiome looking like a post-apocalypse wasteland. Whole 30-plus targeted natural agents can be just as lethal to the bug while sparing civilian tissues. Mastic gum, resin from the pistachio tree that pops H. pylori cell walls like bubble wrap. 1 to 2 grams daily in divided doses for 4 weeks shows similar kill rates to antibiotics in small trials. Bismuth subsalicylate, the pink stuff moms trust, it forms a toxic metal lattice on the bacteriums. Membrane, disrupting urease, take with meals for 2 weeks. Diglycerinated licorice, DGL, coats ulcerated tissue and dislodges biofilm so other agents can. Strike, Saccharomyces boulardii and L. reuteri, probiotic paratroopers that compete for adhesion sites and secrete bacteriocins. Zinc carnosine, patch material that accelerates mucosal healing once the fight is over. Reigniting the acid furnace. As the assassin retreats, we must retrain parietal cells to breathe fire again. Betaine HCl capsules at meals act like jumper cables. Start low, 200 milligrams, and work up until a warm chest sensation tells you acid is hot. Apple cider vinegar, ginger tea, and mindful chewing cue the vagus conductor to signal acid on. Without acid, all the bile rehab from Chapter 3 stalls at the gate. Sunlight and circadian crossfire. Morning sun doesn't kill H. pylori directly, but it sharpens the immune archers by boosting secretory IgA and sinking gastric motility waves that flush pathogens downward. 10 dawn minutes on bare arms and face is free medicine. Whole 30 to the rescue, again. Removing gluten, refined sugar, and industrial oils deprives H. pylori of easy biofilm fodder and lowers the inflammatory haze that masks symptoms. Bitter greens and healthy fats signal CCK, which boosts not just bile flow, but also antimicrobial peptides in bile, natural napalm against stragglers. Victory parade or rematch. Retest 6 weeks after protocols. If stool antigen returns a negative and energy soars, celebrate with a grass-fed steak that finally digests like a dream. If positive, escalate and consider physician-supervised antibiotics or a longer natural stack. Either way, maintain acid support and Whole30 principles to keep future assassins from finding a foothold. With the acid furnace roaring and bile highways open, nutrients finally reach the gut neighborhoods. Up next, we'll explore what actually feeds the microbes that live there, and why the usual fiber fairy tale only tells half the story. Chapter 5. What really feeds our gut? Walk through any grocery aisle and you'll see fiber bars bragging louder than a carnival barker. 10 grams fiber, as if a single macronutrient were the holy grail of microbiome health. But our gut bugs aren't one-trick ponies. They're a 40 trillion member civilization with farmers, chefs, electricians, and sanitation crews, each demanding a different grocery list. Keep serving the same bland fare, and entire districts starve while others riot. Beyond the fiber fairy tale. Classic nutrition lessons frame fiber as roughage that keeps you regular. True, insoluble stalks of cellulose sweep the colon like street cleaners. But the gut's most influential metabolites, short-chain fatty acids, neurotransmitter precursors, immune-modulating lipids, arise from fermentable substrates, resistant starches, pectins, beta-glucans, inulin, arabinogalactans, plus a dash of proteins and polyphenols. Different strains fancy different dishes. Akkermansia thrives on mucin amino acids. Bacteroides adore pectin. Sulfur reducing. Desulfo vibrio munch on taurine-rich bile acids. Feed only oat bran, and you may overgrow one faction while bankrupting others. The bile acid buffet. Remember Chapter 3's dish soap brass? When bile acids reach the ileum, most hitch a ride back to the liver, yet 5 to 10% escape, becoming gourmet fuel for species that police gut permeability. These post-bile bugs convert primary acids into secondary forms, like deoxycholic and lithocholic, which then signal the colon to tighten its junctions and spark anti-inflammatory Treg cells. No bile flow, no buffet. Another reason fat phobia kneecaps gut diversity. Resistant starch, the overnight marinade. Cooked and cooled potatoes, green plantains, and day-old rice hide, starch crystals our enzymes can't crack. They sail to the colon intact, where Roseburia and Faecalibacterium slow-cook them into butyrate, the colonocyte's favorite fuel and a potent epigenetic switch that calms systemic inflammation. Tossing a chilled potato salad into your Whole30 lineup may nourish bugs more effectively than a psyllium shot. Polyphenols and bitters, the spice traders. Colorful pigments, anthocyanins in blueberries, catechins in green tea, quercetin in onions, arrive mostly unmetabolized to the large intestine. Gut microbes slice them into smaller phenolics that act like molecular diplomats, quelling opportunists and encouraging beneficial residents. Bitter compounds from arugula, dandelion, and citrus peel also stimulate bile and pancreatic enzymes upstream, ensuring more diverse substrates downstream. Diversity begets diversity. Protein, yes, in moderation. Contrary to carb-centric lore, certain amino acid leftovers serve as scaffolding for butyrate when fiber runs low. The key is balance. Excess undigested protein, think wolfed down 60 grams whey shakes, feeds putrefying clostridia that belch ammonia and picrosol. Chew slowly, support acid, and rotate protein sources so microbes get steady but not gluttonous servings. Whole30's microbial farmer's market. By stripping additives that sterilize or inflame, Whole30 resets the soil. Add back a rotating rainbow, roasted root veggies, sautéed leafy bitters, small servings of legumes pressure cooked for easier digestion after the initial 30-day strict phase, plus fermented sidekicks like sauerkraut, kimchi, coconut yogurt. Each meal becomes a micro-crop swap, funding multiple bacterial economies instead of a single monoculture. Sunlight's invisible fertilizer. Morning UV light increases serotonin in enterochromaffine cells, which converts to melatonin down the gut, synchronizing microbial circadian rhythms. Daylight microbes ferment more vigorously. Night shift species focus on repair. Miss sunrise and the workforce clocks in late, leaving carbs to linger and feed yeasts. Measuring the harvest. Look for stools that form smooth S-curves, sink slowly, and wipe clean, signs of balanced, soluble and insoluble fiber, adequate water, and robust butyrate. Gas should be audible but not paint peeling. Energy should rise after meals, not plummet. Track these cues in your journal alongside new foods. Notice kombucha triggers bloating? Might be histamine intolerance. Pivot to coconut kefir and revisit later. Putting it all together. 1. Rotate roots and tubers, sweet potato, Monday beet Wednesday, parsnip Friday. 2. Embrace bitters daily, a handful of arugula or dandelion with lunch primes bile. 3. Color every plate, at least 3 pigments per meal, purple cabbage, orange carrot, green basil. 4. Ferment in microdoses, 1 to 2 tablespoons sauerkraut brine can outperform a cup if histamine sensitive. 5. Resistant starch bedtime, 1/3 cup cold rice mixed with cinnamon to feed bugs overnight. No single food holds the ticket, the playlist does. Orchestra metronomes sync when we supply a chorus of prebiotics, gentle proteins, fats that ferry bile, and sunlight that cues the opening note. In the next chapter, we leave the gut and head into the body's detox tunnels, the phase 0-I-2 pathways that prove nutrition isn't just about what we absorb, but what we safely escort out. Chapter 6. Nutritional Detox. If digestion is the bustling downtown, detox is the city sewer, recycling, and export docks all rolled into one. Every second, trillions of cellular factories pump out product, and just as much trash. Skip trash day, and the street stench rolls in. Headaches, rashes, brain fog, hormone swings. Our culture's answer? A 3-day juice cleanse that leaves us shivering and snarling for fries. Real detox is quieter, daily, and unapologetically nutrient-hungry. Phase 0. Ticket to ride. Before any toxin can even book a seat on the detox train, it must cross a membrane. Magnesium-powered transporters and mineral-rich bile acids act as gate agents. Low bile? Tickets denied. Backlogs begin. Phase 1. The cytochrome strip. Inside the liver's nightlife district, CYP 450 enzymes give toxins their first makeover. Think tattoo parlors adding an oxygen tag so the bouncer recognizes them. Copper, iron, selenium, riboflavin B2, and niacin B3 fuel the ink guns. Run phase 1 without backup and you unleash half-processed free radicals nastier than the originals, the dreaded detox symptoms. Phase 2, conjugation junction. Here the chemistry turns bureaucratic. Attach a shipping label so the package can leave. Glucuronidation, molybdenum, magnesium, and a splash of vitamin C. Sulfation, cysteine, taurine, and sulfate ions birthed from Chapter 3's bile revival. Methylation, folate, B12, choline, betaine. Subtle, steady, not Instagram megadoses. Acetylation and amino acid conjugation. Glycine, glutamine, ornithine turn ammonia into urea, histamine into silence. Whole30's Rainbow Produce feeds these pathways. Citrus and brassica for glucuronidation, eggs and dark poultry for sulfur and choline, beets for betaine. No need for gallon jugs of celery juice. The liver prefers a diverse tasting menu. Phase 3, ports and passages. Packaged toxins exit via bile, urine, sweat, and breath. Constipation is a cargo ship traffic jam. Recycle those cartons back into circulation in estrogen dominance, acne, or mood crashes flare. Bile flow, Chapter 3. Fiber rotation, Chapter 5. Inadequate hydration keep the harbor dredged so ships sail on tide. Sunlight, the clock-out whistle. Melatonin is more than a sleep hormone. It upregulates antioxidant enzymes like glutathione reductase, mopping phase 1 exhaust. Sunrise exposure triggers evening melatonin 12 hours later. Miss Dawn and the night shift janitors punch in late. Gentle daily tactics. Sip broth rich in glycine and proline so phase 2 never runs out of labels. Add a pinch of Celtic sea salt and a squeeze of lemon to morning water. Electrolytes plus vitamin C prime renal clearance. Move after meals, muscle contractions, pump lymph like city street sweepers, and breathe through the nose. CO2 titration dilates airways, offloading volatile compounds. When detox goes sideways. If a new supplement spikes headaches or skin eruptions, you may have lit phase 1 without matching phase 2. Dial back, support bile, add binders like activated charcoal or bentonite between meals, and ensure magnesium-buffered bowel movements so trash reaches the curb. Detox is not a weekend war. It's a choreography of micronutrients, bile flow, microbial metabolites, and circadian rhythms. Practice daily until the orchestra plays without a squeak. With tunnels clear, we can tackle the citizens who sometimes riot when sulfur and histamine climb too high. Chapter 7. Sulfur sensitivity and histamine havoc. You finally ditch ultra-processed snacks, chomp kale like a champ, sip bone broth, and boom, your face flushes, sinuses plug, and joints ache like you aged a decade overnight. How can superfoods backfire this hard? Two culprits often hide in the fine print: sulfur overload and histamine overflow. Meet the sulfur superhighway. Cysteine, methionine, garlic, onions, broccoli, NAC, MSM. These sulfur-rich goodies feed glutathione production, joint lube, detox enzymes, and bile acids. But they must travel the trans-sulfuration highway: homocysteine, cystathionine via CBS, cysteine via CGL, sulfate via MST. Each exit ramp needs B6, B2, molybdenum, magnesium, and in some cases adequate copper. When traffic backs up, think copper deficiency, low B6, sluggish MST, partially metabolized sulfites and hydrogen sulfide gas leak into circulation. Result: rotten egg burps, brain fog, tinnitus, and a burning sulfur rash around the eyes or mouth. Histamine, the drama queen neurotransmitter. Histamine modulates wakefulness, stomach acid, and immune patrols, but an overstock triggers hives, headaches, palpitations, and anxiety. DAO, diamine oxidase, in the gut wall deactivates foodborne histamine, while HNMT inside cells clears the spillover. DIO relies on copper, vitamin C, and B6. HNMT craves same from healthy methylation. Lower stomach acid, Chapter 4's assassin, leaky gut, and alcohol, all/DRO levels, letting every leftover or fermented food, kombucha, aged cheese, sauerkraut, become a ticket to the histamine circus. Why bile and bugs matter? Again, sulfur and histamine both intersect bile flow and microbiome balance. Bile acids escort sulfated toxins out. Blocked bile equals sulfur traffic jam. Certain gut bacteria degrade histidine into histamine, but overgrow them via constipation or low acid, and you brew histamine in-house. Butyrate-producing microbes, Chapter 5, upregulate DAO gene expression, proving diversity is the antidote. Symptom decoder ring, trigger food, immediate clue, likely pathway. Garlic, eggs, broccoli. Rotten egg gas, brain fog in 1 to 2 hours, sulfur, H2S overload. Leftover chicken, spinach, wine, flushing, heart palpitations, insomnia. Histamine excess, Epsom salt bath. Dizzy or anxious within minutes. Sulfate influx stressing, MST. Titration, not elimination. 1. Balance the cofactors. 3 to 5 milligrams B6P5P with dinner, 250 to 500 micrograms molybdenum morning, copper from 1 ounce liver or 30 grams, cacao nibs weekly, 250 to 500 milligrams vitamin C twice daily. 2. Pulse sulfur foods. Start with 1 bite of sauerkraut, pause 48 hours, journal reactions, gradually double. Every week. 3. Rotate low histamine proteins. Fresh caught fish, same-day cooked poultry, pressure-cooked legumes, post-Whole30. Freeze leftovers immediately. Slow cookers are histamine factories. 4. Support bile. Lemon water plus bitters before higher fat meals ensures sulfated waste exits. 5. Stabilize mast cells. Morning sunlight, nasal breathing, and 300 milligrams quercetin calm histamine fireworks. Vitamin B6 can backfire for some of us. Be mindful when taking B6. Watch for neurological symptoms. We shouldn't need much B6, and some of us cannot handle any before we notice it pushing issues. As long as we do not blindly continue pushing it, we should be fine. Quick relief toolbox. Activated charcoal or bentonite binds sulfide gases and histamine metabolites. Use away from. Meds. DAO enzyme supplement for social meals with aged meats or wine. Short-term crutch. Epsom foot soak instead of full bath. Gentler sulfate dose. Ginger tea improves gastric emptying so histamine doesn't stagnate. When to dig deeper. Persistent sulfur burnout may signal genetic CBS upregulation or SUOX deficiency. A functional test for urinary sulfate clarifies. Refractory histamine issues warrant stool testing for histamine-producing Klebsiella or Morganella strains. Remember, fix upstream digestion first, fancy genetics second. Master sulfur and histamine and healthy foods. Stop feeling like betrayal. With reactors cooled, we zoom out to your body's solar panels, fats that capture and store sunlight. Chapter 8. Fat, our sunlight battery. Picture each cell membrane as a flexible solar panel, catching photons, translating them into energy signals, and deciding which nutrients dock or which waste drifts away. The quality of that panel hinges on the fats we eat. Are we rolling out buttery satin that flows with circadian tides, or cheap plastic wrap that cracks under pressure? DHA, the king of fluidity. Docosahexaenoic acid, DHA, is a 22-carbon omega-3 that bends like a slinky, allowing membranes, especially in retina and brain, to stay fluid at body temperature. Every sunrise, blue-green wavelengths nudge opsins in your eyes that relay circadian timestamps to the brain. DHA-rich photoreceptor discs flex and flip those photons into an electric signal. Swap DHA for rigid industrial seed oils, and the visual clock ticks slower, jet-lagging every organ downstream. The omega ratio riddle. Inflammation isn't evil, it's the fire alarm. But too many omega-6 linoleic acids from fried foods keep the sirens blaring. Ideal ancestral ratio hovered around 1:1 to 2:1 and 6:1. N-3. Modern diets top 20:1. Excess omega-6 builds arachidonic acid landmines into membranes, primed to explode into cytokines at the slightest spark. By shifting toward omega-3 with wild salmon, sardines, pastured egg yolks, we lower the tripwire. Saturated fat, the framework. Grass-fed tallow and coconut's lauric acid act like rebar in concrete, giving membranes structural integrity. Without some saturation, cells leak ions like a tired kiddie pool. Whole30's emphasis on natural fats hits the sweet spot. Roughly 1/3 saturated, 1/3 monounsaturated, olive, avocado, 1/3 polyunsaturated rich in EPA/DHA. Bile, again, steers the ship. All the DHA in the world means nothing if fat isn't emulsified. Bile acids chaperone fatty micelles to the brush border, where enzymes snip them into glycerol and free fatty acids. Sludgy bile, Chapter 3, equals wasted seafood budget. Support bile before loading up on high-quality fats. Circadian wiring and mitochondria. Morning sunlight increases AMPK activity, encouraging the liver to burn fat, particularly saturated and monounsaturated, while nighttime melatonin peaks guide DHA into mitochondrial cardiolipin, boosting electron transport efficiency by up to 30%. Miss daylight and the battery never charges. Stay up scrolling and you discharge what little remains. Practical plate upgrades. 1. 2 seafood meals weekly. Aim for 4 to 6 ounces wild salmon, sardines, or mackerel. 2. Switch seed oil cooking. Toss canola, soybean, and corn oils. Cook with ghee, avocado oil, or beef tallow under 400 degrees Fahrenheit. 3. Pastured yolks and grass-fed butter. Micronutrient payloads. Vitamin A, K2, polish membrane. Signaling. 4. Soak up sunrise while sipping a warm drink. Photon plus fat synergy. 5. Cold water fish bedtime snack. Optional. Trace DHA deposits while melatonin guides membrane remodeling. Measuring the charge. Within 2 to 3 weeks, look for steadier mood, quicker sun to wake energy, less evening snack craving, circadian leptin reset. A blood omega-3 index greater than 8% predicts lower systemic inflammation. Dark adapted vision sharpens. That pesky night drive glare eases. With solar batteries charged, we're primed to talk about sunlight itself and why supplements can't hold a candle to stepping outside. Chapter 9, Sunlight over Supplements. The supplement aisle has convinced us that a single 5,000 IU softgel can replace 93 million miles of fusion-powered photons. Reality check. Vitamin D pills supply just one riff in sunlight's full symphony. Morning rays, midday UVB, and evening amber each strike different receptors, weaving hormonal harmonies no capsule can mimic. Dawn, the circadian tuning fork. At first light, low-angle blue and red wavelengths hit retinal melanopsin, resetting the brain's master clock, SCN. Cortisol pulses gently, thyroid picks up tempo, bile acids prime for breakfast. Skip dawn, and hormones drift like a band without a conductor. Sleep gets choppy, cravings loud. Midday UVB, the vitamin D press. When your shadow is shorter than you are, UVB photons convert 7-dehydrocholesterol in skin to pre-vitamin D3. Cholesterol sulfates form simultaneously lube red blood cell membranes, improving oxygen delivery. Oral D3 pills skip sulfation, skip nitric oxide surge, and skip the melanocyte sun call that thickens skin pigments to guard DNA. Afternoon infrared, the mitochondrial massage. Late-day near-infrared penetrates tissue, nudging cytochrome C oxidase and increasing ATP output while releasing tethered nitric oxide, a vasodilator that lowers blood pressure. No bottle offers that combo. Why pills can mislead. Oral D3 jumps serum levels quickly, but without sunlight's cofactors, you risk unbalanced calcium signaling. High D with low K2 and magnesium can push calcium into arteries. Whole30s leafy greens, Mg, K1 to K2, and pastured yolks balance the equation, but photons still do the orchestration. People are missing something important with the whole "you just need K2 and magnesium" bit. Which nutrients do K2 and magnesium depend on, and do those function at the moment? Practical solar protocol. 1. Dawn dose. Within 30 minutes of waking, 5 to 10 minutes outside, eyes open, no glasses, skin as practical. Cloudy counts. Lux intensity still spikes melanopsin. Get outside right away and for as long as possible. 2. Solar noon hit. 10 to 20 minutes torso and limbs exposure when UV index 3 to 8. Darker skin types aim. Closer to 30 minutes. No sunscreen. Cover or shade when needed. Build your solar callus. 3. Infrared cool down. Sunset stroll or window light. During golden hour calms nervous system via near infrared. 4. Winter higher latitudes. Use midday exposure on uncovered forearms plus face. 5. Sun prep nutrition. 1 tablespoon olive oil or a pastured yolk snack pre-sun boosts skin cholesterol substrate. Polyphenols from berries mop ROS. Tracking success. Sleep latency less than or equal to 15 minutes and waking without alarm. Midday energy steady no 2 p.m. Coffee need. Blood pressure down 5 to 10 millimeters of mercury after 8 weeks of routine dawn walks. Sunlight is free, self-regulating, and impossible to overdose as long as we respect gradual adaptation and skin type. With photons powering the endocrine clock and digestive gears tuned, we're ready to structure a 30-day reset that stacks every lesson so far. Chapter 10, Whole30, Reloaded, 30 days. No cheat days, no, just a taste. No late-night Googling whether cassava chips are a legume loophole. But this isn't punishment. It's a metabolic reset that stitches together every lesson so far. Acid ignition, bile flow, microbial diversity, toxin clearance, and solar synchronization. Use this blueprint to make the next month run on autopilot. Week by week arc. Week 1, clear the stage. Purge pantry, seed oils, sugary condiments, protein bars, anything with maltodextrin or carrageenan. Stock staples, pastured eggs, wild seafood, grass-fed beef, root veggies, leafy bitters, citrus, mineral salt, bone broth, coconut milk. Dawn ritual, 12 ounces warm, lemon salt water plus 5 minutes sunrise exposure. Week 2, ignite and emulsify. Add digestive bitters or lemon water 10 minutes before meals. Include a tablespoon of healthy fat, ghee, olive, avocado, at each plate to recruit bile. Introduce chilled resistant starch side, cold potato salad, 3 nights to feed butyrate bugs. Week 3, diversify the playlist. Eat the Rainbow Challenge, 5 colors daily, track them in your journal like trading cards. Rotate protein, ruminant, poultry, fish, shellfish, offal, plant, pressure-cooked lentils if tolerated after day 15. Microdose ferments, 1 tablespoon sauerkraut brine or coconut kefir with lunch. Watch sulfur, histamine cues. Week 4, fine-tune and future-proof. Intermittent movement snacks, 5-minute walk or 20 bodyweight squats after each meal to spike GLUT4 and bile flow. Sunset hygiene, stroll at golden hour, screens off 60 minutes pre-bed. Prep your reintro list from the symptom journal. Daily plate template, component, portion, purpose, protein, 1 to 2 palms worth. Stomach acid trigger and repair. Veggies, greater than or equal to 2 cups, 1/2 cooked, 1/2 raw or bitter. Fiber diversity, enzymes, healthy fat, thumb to fist sized, bile flow, membrane fuel. Color bonus, 3+ pigments. Polyphenols, DAO support. Herb and acid, free. Bile plus gastric spark. Sunday meal prep flow. 1. Roast sheet pan roots, beets, carrots, parsnips with ghee plus rosemary. 2. Slow cook bone-in pork shoulder, shred for lettuce wrap tacos. 3. Steam a dozen pasture eggs, store in glass for low histamine snacks. 4. Blend sunshine sauce, olive oil, lemon, garlic, parsley, drizzle on anything. Sunlight and movement anchors. Time, Q, duration, Y. 7 a.m. Sunrise breath, 5 to 10 minutes. Circadian reset, cortisol tune. Noon. Solar soak, 10 to 20 minutes. Vitamin D, nitric oxide pulse. Post-meal, walk squats. 5 minutes of bile flow, glucose control. Sunset, infrared unwind 10 minutes, parasympathetic shift. Troubleshooting cheat sheet, hiccup, likely gap, quick fix. Keto flu headaches, electrolytes, sea salt water, extra avocado. Constipation, low bile/fiber, bitters, roasted roots, Mg citrate 200 milligrams. Sulfur rash, too much garlic/onion. Pause sulfur foods 48 hours, add molybdenum. Insomnia, blue light overexposure, sunset stroll, screen filter, 1 to 3 grams glycine. Tracking and reflection, journal daily, sleep, mood, stool, energy, sunlight, new foods, symptoms. Star meals that make you feel superhuman, they become staples. Exit ramp. On day 31, reintroduce 1 food group every 3 days. Legumes, non-gluten grains, dairy, gluten. Keep dawn walks forever. Master this month and you'll own a living experiment proving that food, light, and micronutrients outrank hacks and hashtags. Chapter 11. Roadblocks and reroutes. Even the best laid plans meet potholes. Instead of panic breaking, we diagnose the glitch, reroute, and keep momentum. Below is your troubleshooting atlas. Common stalls, root cause scans, and quick pivots that maintain Whole30 integrity while respecting bio-individual quirks. 1. Stalled weight or bloating returns. Symptom cluster, likely culprit, detective steps, rapid reroute. Weight plateau plus ankle puffiness. Hidden salt-laden deli meat or nut butter creep. Food log sodium, whey nuts. Swap snacks for boiled eggs and berries. Add 20-minute brisk walk post-dinner. Bloated evenings plus foul gas. Low stomach acid resurfacing. Burp test with 1/4 teaspoon bicarb in water. Reinstate betaine, HCl, ginger tea. Chew thoroughly. PMS weight swing greater than 5 pounds. Estrogen recirculation from constipation. Review stool frequency. Add magnesium citrate 200 milligrams plus 2 cups leafy bitters. 2. No gallbladder dilemmas. Problem: fatty meals still trigger loose stools despite ox bile. Scan: are doses taken mid-meal? Is fat bolus greater than 20 grams at once? Any fermented food causing bile dilution? Reroute: split meals, smaller fat portions every 3 hours. Titrate ox bile 125 to 500 milligrams with first bite. Add 500 milligrams taurine before largest meal to thin endogenous trickle. Open your first few capsules of bile and dump 90% in the trash so you can start slow and really tune into this one. 3. Histamine flares despite low histamine menu. Possible root: DAO cofactors depleted by intense workouts or viral infection. Fixed stack: 500 milligrams vitamin C plus 3 to 5 milligrams, copper glycinate morning, 300 milligrams quercetin afternoon. Freeze proteins immediately after cooking to avoid histamines. Pressure cook leftovers into soups within 24 hours. I had to start. Very slowly with copper at 3 milligrams once per week, which made me feel like Dookie. After about 2 to 3 months of weekly on and off, I was finally able to use the copper beneficially and moved up slowly, temporarily. 4. Sulfur sensitivity persists. Check molybdenum intake less than 250 micrograms. If yes, suspect CBS upregulation from ongoing stress. Don't forget these numbers are our total intake. We're not doing this 100% with supplements. Reroute: 200 milligrams GABA or breathwork pre-meal to drop cortisol. Swap brassicas for rainbow carrots 48 hours. Reintroduce sulfur slowly with magnesium baths instead of garlic. 5. Energy crashes at 3 p.m. Usually circadian slip, sunrise mist, blue light high at night. Fix: 3 consecutive days of dawn walks and 9 p.m. screen curfew. Bump lunch protein by 20 grams to steady glucagon. 6. Plateaued lab markers. If TSH rises greater than 2.5 milli-international units per liter, consider iodine status and reverse T3. Ensure selenium 200 micrograms once per week on average. If ferritin less than 40 nanograms per milliliter with fatigue, pair 25 milligrams heme iron with vitamin C, retest after 6 weeks. Iron supplementation should be considered a medication. Once we're supporting our nutrients and core pathways, we shouldn't need more iron. We only absorb a small amount of iron from our diet. Our iron issue is due to it falling out of suspension. Ignoring this can push us further into a hole. When to seek pro help: persistent heartburn after maximum betaine, HCl. Stool antigens still positive for H. pylori after dual protocol. Histamine reactions escalate to anaphylaxis cues. Functional medicine labs can spotlight deeper glitches: organic acids, GI map, DUTCH hormones. But exhaust the free fixes first: light, sleep, breath, movement. Master these reroutes and you'll keep wheels turning even on gravel roads. Next, we zoom out from gut to lifestyle levers that reinforce digestion long after day 30. Chapter 12. Lifestyle levers. Good digestion doesn't live in your belly alone. It rides the wave of every breath, heartbeat, and circadian signal. Think of lifestyle levers as the scaffolding keeping all the biochemical renovations from sagging. Pull them gently, consistently, and the gut orchestra plays in tune without constant micromanaging. Sleep, the overnight maintenance crew. During slow-wave sleep, the migrating motor complex, MMC, runs a janitorial sweep from stomach to colon, pushing stray food particles and bacteria out of the small intestine. Miss that window and the 10 p.m. Netflix cliffhanger will tempt you. MMC clocks in late, and bacterial overgrowth can bloom by breakfast. Lights out protocol. Dim house bulbs after sunset. Aim for less than 50 lux. Stop eating 3 hours before bed, so MMC isn't competing with digestion. 1 to 3 grams, glycine plus 200 milligrams, magnesium glycinate, 60 minutes pre-sleep to deepen slow-wave cycles. Stress, vagus nerve versus sympathetic sirens. The enteric nervous system obeys vagal parasympathetic signals. Chronic inbox check anxiety. Short circuits acid secretion, bile release, and peristalsis. 90-second reset. Inhale for 4, hold 4, exhale 6, hum for 4. Stimulates vagus via vocal cords. Repeat. Before each meal. Grounding ritual. Barefoot stand on grass for 5 minutes at sunrise. Negative ions plus sunlight settle cortisol. Movement. The peristaltic metronome. Sedentary sitting kinks. Lymphatic drains and slows bowel motility. Lever, frequency, gut impact. 5-minute walk. Post-meal. Bile flow, glucose uptake. 10 squats. Hourly desk break core massage. Venus. Return. 20-minute zone 2 cardio, 3 times weekly. Vagal tone, MMC tempo. Nasal breathing and CO2 tolerance. Mouth breathing blows off CO2, tightening smooth muscle around airways and gut. Worsening bloating. Tape lips with gentle kinesio tape during sleep, if no apnea. Practice breathe light walks. Inhale 3 steps, exhale 5 steps, nose only. Build CO2 tolerance, enhancing oxygen delivery to gut mucosa. Posture and diaphragmatic tone. Slumped desks compress organs. Diaphragm can't piston stomach contents. Seated reset. Sit bones grounded, ribs stacked over hips, chin slightly tucked. 3 deep belly breaths. Every email batch. Weekly rhythm check. Monday, meal prep plus grocery stock. Wednesday, midweek sunlight audit. Did dawn, noon, sunset happen? Friday, stillness check. Evening, 10-minute box breathing plus gratitude list lowers weekend stress snacking. Sunday, digital sunset at 7 p.m. Read fiction under amber lamp. Measuring lifestyle wins. Sleep latency less than or equal to 15 minutes. Waking refreshed without alarm. HRV up greater than or equal to 10% over baseline in 2 weeks. Bowel movements after breakfast. Smooth S shape and effortless. Mid-afternoon energy stable, no coffee rescue. Pull these levers and the biochemical upgrades from chapters 1 to 10 lock in. Next, we'll discuss cycling forward by layering nutrients and reintroductions to maintain momentum beyond the initial reset. Chapter 13, Cycling Forward. Whole 30 was the demolition and rebuild. Now we're furnishing the house. Cycling forward means layering nutrients, reintroducing foods with intention, and toggling mini protocols so the gut never stagnates, and you never feel hostage to another 30-day boot camp. 1. The 80-20 rhythm. Aim for 80% whole, 30-style plates, 20% flexible experimentation. This keeps metabolic signals steady while providing psychological breathing room. Think of it as interval training for digestion. Push, recover, adapt. Second, layering nutrient focus blocks. Cycle. Duration spotlight nutrients. Purpose. Mineral month. 4 weeks magnesium, potassium, trace minerals. Replenish electrolyte reservoirs post-detox. Mesomarch. 4 weeks CoQ10, riboflavin, L-carnitine. Boost mitochondrial throughput for sustained energy. Gut garden. 4 weeks prebiotics, polyphenols, butyrate. Diversify microbiome after travel or antibiotics. Hormone harmony. 4 weeks. Iodine microdoses, selenium, zinc. Fine-tune thyroid/adrenal axis. Rotate blocks quarterly or tailor to symptom priority. Keep doses micro. The goal is supply, not flood. 3. Reintroductions. The scientific method on a plate. 1. Single variable. Add only 1 food family per 72 hours. 2. Standard portion, e.g., 1 cup cooked rice, 2 corn tortillas, 1 ounce cheese. 3. Symptom log. Record mood, stool, skin, sleep for 3 days. 4. Decision gate. Thumbs up. Keep in rotation, maximum 20%. Thumbs down, park for 30 days and retest. 4. Seasonal sunlight and fat tweaks. Winter, increase DHA, sardines twice weekly, and choose slower carbs, roasted squash, to offset. Lower UVB. Summer, more monounsaturated fats, olive, avocado, and resistant starch salads to complement. Longer daylight and higher activity. 5 microfasts and meal windows. After hormones stabilize, try a 14 to 10 time-restricted eating window, 2 to 3 days a week, no heroic 20-hour fasts. Watch that morning sunlight plus protein still happen inside the window to maintain bile rhythm. 6. Lab checkpoints. Quarterly, omega-3 index, ferritin, TSH plus free T3/T4. Biannually, comprehensive metabolic panel, fasting insulin, CRP, homocysteine. Annually, GI map or equivalent if persistent gut flags. 7. The reset button. Anytime symptoms creep, bloating, fatigue, skin flare, press a 7-day mini reset, strict Whole30, dawn, noon sunset sunlight, bitters, broth, usually enough to nudge trains back on rails. 8. Mindset, progress, not perfection. Slip-ups serve as diagnostic stress tests. If ice cream wrecks sleep, that data's gold. No shame, just feedback. Adapt, pivot, iterate. Keep cycling nutrients, light, and movement. And digestion shifts from high-maintenance project to background hum. In our final chapter, we'll gather resources like symptom logs, recipe index, and tracking sheets so you can coach yourself long after this guide ends. Chapter 14, Resources and Tracking Sheets. All great transformations hinge on data, the nudge of a scale, a scribbled note about Tuesday's fatigue, the revelation that dawn's sunlight correlates with better stool form. This chapter arms you with simple, printable, or copy-pastable tools to keep digestion humming and course correct at the first wobble. 1. Daily symptom log, 1 page. Date sleep hours, quality. Morning stool, 1 to 7 Bristol. Meal highlights, colors, protein. Energy curve, AM/PM. Sunlight, dawn/noon/sunset. Notable symptoms, how to use. Print 31 copies, clip to a board, and fill in under 2 minutes each night. Circle any box that feels off-trend for quick pattern spotting. 2. 7-day meal planner grid. Day, protein veg color, 1 veg color, 2, healthy fat ferment/bitter carb source, Monday, Tuesday, etc. Stick this on the fridge. Pencil meals Sunday night. Aim to rotate proteins and hit all rainbow slots by week's end. 3. Sunlight and movement tracker, habit chain. Break of dawn, walk after meal 1, solar noon, walk after meal 2, sunset wind down, blue blockers. Photocopy a month's worth. Mark an X for each Q hit. Chains longer than 7 keep circadian wiring tight. 4. Troubleshooting flowchart, mini poster. 1. Symptom spikes. Check log for missed dawn or low electrolytes. Correct. Reassess in 24 hours. Second stool changes. Match Bristol score to Chapter 3 and 5 fixes, bile versus fiber. Implement for 2 meals. 3. Sleep off. Blue light hygiene plus glycine T. If no change, magnesium status check. If still stuck, revisit sulfur/histamine intake. Print and tape inside pantry door for quick reference. 5. Labs and metrics dashboard quarterly. Metric. Goal range. Last target date notes. Omega-3 index. Greater than or equal to 8%. Seafood 2 times per week. Ferritin 40 to 100 nanograms per milliliter. Watch iron versus copper. Fasting insulin less than 8 micro-international units per milliliter. Movement snacks. HSCRP less than 1 milligram per liter. Inflammation load. 6. Recipe and resource library. Sunshine sauce. Chapter 10. Cold potato R's salad. Chapter 5. Bitter greens, quick mix. Chapter 3. Taurine broth booster. Chapter 3. Low histamine protein list. Chapter 7. Final thoughts. These sheets turn intuition into evidence. Print, laminate, or digitize them. Whatever keeps them visible. The goal isn't perfect logging forever. It's rapid feedback until habits run on autopilot. Reread any chapter when patterns drift, and remember, your body's data is the most honest coach you'll ever hire. FAQ, quick answers to common hurdles. 1. Can I do Whole30 if I'm vegetarian or vegan? Yes, but swap animal proteins for pressure-cooked lentils, tempeh, and spirulina. Prioritize bile-sparking bitters. Add taurine, 500 milligrams if vegan, and track sulfur reactions. 2. Do I need pricey supplements to succeed? No. Lemon, mineral salt, sunlight, and diverse foods cover 90% of cofactors. Supplements become surgical tools. I built up my supplement stash over the years to help tune in and support my system the best I could. 3. Is coffee allowed? Black coffee fits Whole30, but if jitters, reflux, or histamine spikes occur, swap to cold brew, add salt, or switch to roasted dandelion root for a week. Most coffee is rather toxic. Look for a single-sourced organic. 4. What if I have no gallbladder? Eat smaller, fat-spaced meals. Include ox bile with higher fat dishes. Double down on bitters and taurine to thin new bile. All other principles stay the same. 5. How do I handle social events? Pre-eat protein, bring compliant sides, and frame it as a 30-day self-experiment. People respect science projects more than diets. 6. Why is my TSH rising on Whole30? Improved bile flow increases thyroid hormone turnover. TSH may spike temporarily. Check free T4/T3 and symptoms before adjusting meds. 7. Can I keep fermented foods if I'm histamine sensitive? Yes, start with young coconut yogurt or 24-hour drained kefir. Take DAO with unavoidable high histamine meals until gut lining heals. 8. Do I need to track macros? No, use the plate template. Your journal's energy and stool columns are more telling than macro math during a reset. 9. What about electrolyte drinks? DIY, 16 ounces water, pinch sea salt, squeeze of citrus, dash of 100% coconut water. Skip neon powders with artificial sweeteners. 10. How often should I repeat a full reset? At least once a year, or anytime stress, travel, or illness derails gut rhythm for more than 2 weeks. Unfortunately, that brings us to the end of this discussion. Thanks for listening, and thanks for being part of our journey back to wellness. We could use some more soldiers in this battle. If you enjoy the information I've compiled here, there is plenty more. I have 2 more free ebooks, one about iodine at whyiodine.com/book, and one about the MTHFR gene at pathwaymap.com/book. I also have about 500,000 words across my websites, and I summarize this stuff into posts and videos at facebook.com/micah.john.coffee. I wish you the best.